All right. Today is a little different of an episode because I've had a lot of people asking about me sharing my faith journey just because it's something new that I've been talking about. And obviously, you've been very open about yours. But I think it'd be good to kind of go through our journeys, especially since it's something that's new for me. And I know we've both been called to talk more about it and give more background there since it's an important part of both of our lives. So I figured it'd be fun to break it down.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about I'm a little nervous as well, but,
Same.
I'm pretty excited, and this is really not us, like, telling you, like, what to sharing our story and our process and what our thoughts are and the things that we've struggled with and the challenges that we've gone through, and then, of course, the triumphs and amazing experiences that we've gone through as well.
Mhm. Yeah, before we do, I feel like we haven't done a catch-up session in a hot minute, so we gotta give the people the updates. I know you just got back from a trip. I don't know if you wanna tell us about that or what else is going on.
Yeah, so this was a Baylor and Harper trip. So they went to or they earned the right to compete in dance nationals in Orlando. So Baylor's in high school and Harper's in middle school. So both they went with their team, the middle school team and the high school team, and competed in pom and jazz and game day. And there's hundreds of teams, in the categories, and it's very competitive, but they have a blast. They have so much fun. It's such a great experience. They've been able to do this for a few years. Of course, Baylor a couple more years because she's in high school, and both programs are fantastic. So it's kind of one of those things like they expect to do well and they work really hard. All the girls that dance, they spend so much time and energy doing this, and so it's really cool to watch them just kinda compete on, the big stage, and it really is a nationals thing. That you're going up against teams from California and Michigan and just all over the place, and you have schools that are, smaller and larger, and you have schools that are, like, performance-based, schools and things like that, so they're just all kind of backgrounds, and so it's just really cool, and then, of course, the parents are expected to be involved, and I think they actually get scored somewhat on the crowd participation.
Mm.
So it's not just say, "Hey, just sit back and watch," or "Yay, good job." I mean, we're out there screaming and yelling and we have chants and it's really cool seeing a lot of these other schools come in and they have big parent crowds and they're loud and then you're loud and you're trying to get into it and of course there's the side competition that mostly the females, by the way. It's pretty hilarious, fighting for seats to get up front and watch their girls and stuff.
Of
That's
course.
like a whole nother story. That's a maybe a whole episode I could talk about.
Oh, I'm sure. I just have that vision of, like, Dance Moms. Have you ever seen that show? I don't even think I've watched it, but, like, I've seen clips. I'm like, "Oh, that's what I picture."
Yes, and my girls love watching that. They just laugh. They're like, "This is just pure entertainment," and there is a lot of that. I mean, it's pretty crazy. The dance moms get the dance dads talk about it. We laugh about it because it's really mostly, and there's a few men, but mostly it's the women that are like jockeying for seats and throwing elbows and yelling at each other and things like that. So it's it's fun. But anyway, they had a great experience, and to top it all off, Harper's team earned 2 national championship titles. So, yeah, they were super excited about that, and so, yeah, it was a successful trip. They had so much fun and such a great experience and opportunity for the girls to bond with each other and to be able to compete on the national stage, and so for me, it's kind of one of those things that these are gonna be memories that they have forever, and they'll look back at it, and they're gonna share it with their daughters and their kids, and they'll have stories to tell forever. So I think it's a really cool experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that you're able to give them that experience too, because I know it's a lot on your end too. It's like a huge commitment, and even just like you said, you can't just like sit there and relax too. But that's so awesome, and congrats to them. And obviously, they put in a lot of work. I know you were joking the other week about how it's like even like school shut down, like roads are icy, but it's like you still got to get to dance practice.
Yeah, yeah, nothing holds them back, man. They go all out and yeah, I mean, they're committed to it, and they put in the work for sure.
Were you guys able to do anything else outside of dance festivities?
I mean, it's a pretty booked schedule. So the high school team kinda stays together, and they got to go to the park, and then we got to take Harper to the park as well. So they get a little Disney time, and everyone kinda does the trip a little bit differently, but, yes, they get a little Disney time, but it's the majority is just all dance.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, this was in Orlando for people who are like, what, park or Disney?
Well, yeah, and sorry, I didn't say that, but, it's funny if you're in that area around that time, because there's also cheer, and they
Mm.
usually do them different times. But this year, they decided to put them on the same weekend, which was chaos because there's thousands of cheer dance girls with all their parents and families and things like that, and so it was quite busy, and it was interesting with that many people there. So yeah, so everyone in that area knows what it's like, and even when you're going to the airport, yeah, we flew back with a couple other teams for cheer teams and things like that, and so it's quite the spectacle but
Oh,
it's a lot of fun.
nice.
What about yourself? What's going on with you?
Well, I realized that my Japan trip is coming up, like, very quick, like, almost a month away, so I'm like,
It's getting there. So what's the most excited what are you most excited about on this trip?
I don't know, again, I haven't looked at the itinerary, but I'm probably most excited about the food, to be honest. I freaking love any sort of Asian food, but yeah, like, I've been getting, like, I think my phone is listening to me. It's like my Instagram is like, best food spots in Japan. I'm like, "Nope, I'm gonna save that."
Yeah. Oh, I like pretty much any kind of food, but I love Japanese food. That is so good. I'll be jealous. I can't wait to see what you get to try there.
Yeah, I told my coach, I'm like, "I am going absolutely crazy. You cannot stop me. I'm eating whatever I want."
Now, how authentic will you go? Will you go like whatever they're serving? I'm going for the most unique, authentic Japanese dish, like complete raw sushi type thing, or
Yeah, I'm down for it all. Like, yeah, I'm only gonna be there once in my life probably, so, like, I wanna get the full experience. I'm always down to try new things, that I haven't tried or just, like, things that are very specific to the culture, so yeah, I'm down for whatever.
all right. Well, we're definitely gonna have. Maybe we'll just have a whole episode on the food you ate in Japan.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That'll be fun. No, that'll be a great trip. I've never been to Japan, and it's I've heard some amazing things. So yeah, that's gonna be fun to hear about.
Yeah, and it's funny, like, I've since it's gonna be, like, 2 weeks, so I have volleyball tournaments booked every single weekend, like, leading up to them, like, I gotta get my fix before I go, and then there'll be a good recovery period.
Of course, you can't. Yeah, you gotta get those in.
Yeah, I have a volleyball pickleball one coming up this weekend, so we'll be able to test my pickle skills, which are pretty non-existent, so we'll see.
Okay, so change of topic here. Pickleball. I know you've played before, but are you just signing up for some random tournament, or are you actually going to be able to compete in this? And is this like a doubles thing or what?
Yeah, it's like a doubles thing for Valentine's Day. So, like, I did another one similar to this where it's like volleyball and pickleball, so it's like you play some volleyball games, you use the pickleball. I don't know the exact structure on how they, like, scored and everything. But yeah, it's both. So I did one previously. At that point, like I was playing in the open level though, so it's like I was literally playing against professional pickleball players. So I got annihilated. So I'm a little scarred from that. So I hope it's a bit better this time, because like I played a few times. Like me and my partner have been like training a little bit, so it's like I'm decent, but like definitely not pro level. So like I don't know. We'll be able to get more of a gauge on like where I'm at. I think at this one compared to the last one. So we'll see.
Yeah, I thought you were saying like I heard you say pickleball, volleyball, but I thought you were just saying like I have a volleyball tournament and a pickleball. So it's like a combination.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only reason I'm doing it.
Oh, wow, that sounds unique. That sounds fun.
Yeah, I'm like, it'll be a good time. Why not?
Why not? Right? Yeah, and then you'll get to Japan and you'll just be able to let loose, relax.
Me and my friend who I'm going to Japan with, he's like my usual volleyball partner. We were joking. We're like, we got to find a place to play, or we got to like bring the ball on the plane. We'll just be like setting each other back and forth or something. We're gonna go through withdrawals. It's gonna be hilarious.
What you do while you're waiting on the planes, right? You're in the airport, and because if you do that, people will think that you guys are professional volleyball players. It's like they're like, who else brings a volleyball to hit around the airport? So that'll be
That's a
fun.
very good point. And definitely not addicts. Like we don't have a problem whatsoever.
Well, this just actually, I totally forgot about this, but I was walking the airport. I like to walk around to get steps in while I was waiting, and I'm just walking by myself up and down the concourses. And I looked to my left, and there's a guy jump roping
Hmm.
on the side. And my first thought is, I can't believe this guy's jump rope like in the middle of the airport. And then my second thought was, this is actually pretty cool. Like, I wish I would have had jump rope and jumping rope in
Right?
the middle of the airport. Because yeah, people just sit around do nothing. I was like, might as well to do something, man. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I wish all airports had gyms. Like that's the dream. Like you have a layer, just like go get a workout. It feels so good.
Yeah. Actually, I saw some post for some company that was opening up gyms like in airports or something like that. I don't know what's going to come. But yeah, that would be really cool if there was a gym every airport, and that'd be awesome. That'd be
Yeah.
awesome.
One other thing too that I watched the other week, I don't know if you saw this one, the Hormozy did a podcast with Tony Robbins. Did you watch that?
So I heard about it, and I really wanna listen to it because I heard a little clip from it, but I've not watched or listened to the podcast at all.
Yeah, I thought it was super interesting. Like, obviously, I'm like a big Hormozy fan. Like, he's a legend. He's a goat. But also, like, he has a very extreme view. So it was just very interesting because basically it was like Tony was kind of just like coaching him like the whole time.
He called him out, didn't he?
Yeah, basically, yeah. So it was super interesting. Obviously, like he like Hormozy's like just like super chill. Like so it's like he's very receptive to all that. So it's like really cool to like kind of see him getting challenged on that and some of his perspectives and just especially with it, like he's just like, like all about like the suffering and Tony's like, yo, fuck suffering. Like, what are you doing? So like I think it's just really cool to reinforce that and especially just seeing is like you can be very both of them are wildly successful, obviously on different levels, but it's like one of them is, like, not happy and fulfilled in, like, a certain way, being Alex Hormozy, and then Tony Robbins, he's, like, so happy, so fulfilled, so it's, like, you can like, there's I don't know, it's just really interesting to see those 2 dynamics, and especially because like, that's something I've been thinking about a lot too. Because I used to be, like, all Hormozy, like, I was just, like, in that mindset, and now I'm, like, shifting the other way, so it's just kinda cool to see him getting tested on that too, and hear his perspectives.
Yeah, and Hormozy he's got such a great mindset, and he is like uber successful. Like if you were trying to be successful, his game plan is like what you want to follow. But you're right, and this is something we can talk about actually in a little bit. But he's kind of created like this business, or almost maybe not necessarily the business, but the idea that he is this like ultimate business guy. Like that's kind of like his idol. That's the one thing, and going back to where you're like where Tony Robbins is kinda talking about, is this really fulfilling? Do you feel at peace with things? And that's because, his idol is this instead
Mhm.
of God. So, I know Tony Robbins does mention spirituality in his talks and things like that. So, I'm willing to bet that that's probably one of the missing links that if Hormozy can get on board there, then he might have a pretty awesome life.
Such a good point, and I love that's like a perfect segue into our topic with faith. Obviously, like, you've been in it a long time, I guess, do you wanna start with kinda your upbringing around or just, like, kinda where you started with things?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'd love to. So I grew up in the Methodist church, which is this denomination. My parents went to church, and we went to church pretty much every Sunday. And it was very Bible based, and it was the old fashioned. They had the pews, and it went through confirmation, which was like you basically are it's confirmation was just kind of deciding whether you wanted to be baptized and wanted to
Mm,
be a Christian, and I went through that, and I think I was, gosh, well, like 13 or something, and it was really cool because we had a great youth pastor, and he just really related to us really well. And one thing that was really cool is he took us to all different types of churches, and including like synagogue and things like that. And so we got to kind of experience the different ways people express their faith, and they worshiped, and because they wanted to make sure that, hey, this is really what you want to do. We're not trying to force you to do anything. And so I got baptized, which is a kind of like a sprinkle over the head type of thing. But it's kind of almost like I was just kinda like I was there, and I remember even, like, I was even in the choir. It was kind of funny, like, I'm not a great singer. My friend and I, we were, like, the only kids in the choir. They're all older people, but I would sit up there and I would, like, doodle, like, I would doodle, like, basketball players slam dunking stuff, so, I was polite and respectful, but I wasn't really listening to the message. And I think that's kind of like how my journey was for the most part throughout my life. Like I knew what the right things were and what I was supposed to be doing, but I didn't really have a deep knowledge of the Bible, and I just wanted to be like a good person, kind of, which is kind of just like real baseline, nothing where I needed to be. And it really wasn't until I got to college to where I really started getting into God's word and his purpose and everything that I needed to get into. And really, what happened was, so I went to a Christian college in Nyack, New York, and I went there to play baseball. It wasn't because I wanted to go to a Christian school; it just happened to be a Christian school. And of course, this was kind of the first time that I realized that God is playing a huge role in my life. Like, I can't believe, like, of all the places I would go, And I'll actually tell you kind of the story how I even got to that college. I was in a journalist class in high school, a journalism class, and we had a sub, and he was like, where are my athletes in this class?" And he wasn't teaching or anything. We were just like chit chatting the whole time. And I was talking to him. He was like, "Hey, man," he was like, "I am going to be like an assistant coach at this school in Wisconsin." And, we realized that a lot of the really good athletes, really good sports players are going to be from the South, Texas and Florida and things like that. And so I really want to come down and recruit more in the South. Would you be interested in coming up and, or doing a tryout or something? If I can get the coach to come down here, do a tryout. And I was like, yeah, of course. That'd be, really cool. But of course, I was also like, yeah, right. Who's this guy? Like just randomly talking about doing this. And so I kind of just brushed it away. um, I get a phone call from him because he took our phone numbers down. And he was like, "Hey man," I don't know if you remember me. I was subbing in your class. I was like, "Oh my gosh." Like, yeah, I remember you. He's like, "All right, so I'm not actually going to be at this school in Wisconsin. I'm going to be at this school in New York now." He goes, "I'm going to be working with them and I'm going to have the coach call you if that's okay. We're going to set up this like big tryout." I was like, "Yeah, sure, that'd be cool." Still not really believing like this is anything gonna happen, right? And so it gets all set up. The coach comes down and he has this big tryout and he invites a few players, offers us scholarships. And I remember sitting on the bench of in the dugout while we're kind of talking to the coach and stuff. And with one of my friends that I knew, I went to another high school. And I was like, "Dude, if he offers a scholarship, let's go." I mean, New York, like we've never been to New York. Like, how random and cool would this be? And he was like, "All right, let's do it." Like high school boys, like we have no thought process whatsoever. Just,
Yeah.
hey, baseball would be fun. Let's do it. And there was also three other guys, and all of us were from different high schools. We got offered scholarships and we went up there. And we were like, "Where's this guy that came down to us?" And he was like, "I don't even know who this guy was." It was like, he doesn't work with the school. He's not with us or anything like that. And so right away, we were like, this is really weird. Some random guy comes down and gets this all set up. He doesn't even work here. And so right away, we started thinking, okay, God's like doing something with us. Anyway, so it's a Christian school, but we're not really, we're just there. Like we're the Texas guys, playing baseball. And school starts and we're so far away from home. And it was just really difficult because we really only knew each other. And it's a completely different culture and area from what you're used to. Everyone legitimately thought that we rode horses to school. Like Texas, it was just everything was very different. And it a lot of times just got very lonely. And it was really difficult. And I had started to hang out with someone who was really had a really deep faith, and she was really awesome. She was really into and so I started hanging out with her a lot, and I was learning a lot from her, and I was doing some things with her. And so I was trying to pray a little more and talk to God. And there was one day where I just felt like everything was on my shoulders. Like I felt like I was just super homesick. I was way behind. In high school, I didn't study or anything. I just like showed up. I would show up and I didn't even know test. We had a test. I didn't have any study skills, and I was falling like way behind my college courses. And there was just a lot of things going on. And I had these baseball cleats that were like not replaceable, but you could change them out. So either they had metal cleats or plastic cleats on there. And I tell you this because when I was running back we were just hitting some balls around, and I run back and I felt like my foot kind of twisted a little bit, and I felt like one of the cleats popped off. And I was like, and I was thinking, I don't have to buy new cleats. Ball. It's just one more thing. So I was looking for this little cleat and I couldn't find it. And I know it sounds dumb, but it was just kind of like that tipping point to everything like crashing down on me. And it was like just one more thing. And I almost kind of had like a breakdown and a panic attack almost. And I just stopped right there. And it was probably the first time I ever really prayed out loud, at least, and like a real meaningful prayer. And I was just like, "God, I know you're here. I'm just melting. Like I'm falling apart, like everything." And I kind of started going all over all this stuff just out loud of what was bothering me and what I was struggling through. And I just gave it all to him. I I ended the prayer and I just kind of felt this like it was really, I mean, it was awesome, but it was kind of strange to describe it. It was just kind of like this peace like fell over me. And I look down and I see my cleat sitting in the grass. And I mean, and I am one of those people like you can put like a needle in the grass and I'll find it eventually. You know, I'm really good at stuff, and I looked everywhere. It was not there. I could not find it, and all of a sudden it's sitting there right there in plain sight. And I was like, oh my gosh, God, like thank you. And then the rest of the day was amazing. Like I went back into our room and I just had this clarity on what I needed to study. And I had friends that came over and just randomly were just hanging out, and the rest of the day was amazing. And so right there, from then on, I was kind of just like, man, like God was there for me. I knew He was there for me, and I knew He answered those prayers, even though they were like for anyone else, it was probably the silliest stuff. But for me, it meant everything, and so that's kind of like where I really kind of got invested in. Okay, like God is real, and God is with me, and He loves us unconditionally, and everything. And so the rest of the year, I tried to learn more about him, and then I just kind of took it from there. And so I transferred schools, and I tried to get more involved in churches and things like that. And so, of course, throughout my journey, there's a lot of peaks and there's a lot of valleys, a lot of lows. But um, that's kinda where it all started, and then now I'm at a point where I'm definitely not perfect, and I'm definitely have a lot to learn, and I think that's one thing that a lot of times old people refer to the Bible as being living, and when I was younger, it just went over my head. I had no idea what that meant, and as I got older and I experienced more things in life, I realized well, what that means to me is that the Bible's always changing. You know, I can read a verse or I can read a story and you can read the exact same thing. Or matter of fact, I can read the exact same thing a year later and it means something totally different. You know, it's almost like God's just speaking to us where we need to be and he always meets us where we're at. And it's kind of just like, hey, I know you read this verse last time. This is what it meant last time, but this time this is what it's going to mean to you.
Mhm.
And so, my journey now, I'm just kinda at a place where I'm continuing to want to learn and grow, also knowing that I'm making tons of mistakes and, I probably fail more so than I, succeed. But I know that he's always with me, and so that's one thing that I have such strong faith that he's with me at all times, and I can always go to him and talk to him. I think probably maybe my biggest struggle now is listening more than talking to what he has to share. But that's kinda like where I started, and so it's just an ongoing journey from there.
Yeah, I love that. I remember you sharing that story too. Like, it sounds like that was kinda like the biggest turning point or like, I don't know if aha moment is the right term, but did you have any other experiences like that where you're like, "Oh my god, like I feel the Holy Spirit," like big powerful moments like that? 'Cause I hear a lot of people who have those crazy stories and like, "Oh my god, like, it just like hit me out of nowhere," and then there's some like for me, like, which I can get into eventually is like I never had that, like I haven't yet, at least. So, I'm curious to your take on that or what other experiences you had there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one that I've always remembered, and that's always kinda stuck with me, like, wow, like, this is such a big moment. There's been a lot of other moments where, I felt like God was with me, and I felt like that he was just like I said, he kinda just gave me that peace, and sometimes it was just like, and it didn't necessarily always be, like, at a place where I was really low. I mean, there was a couple times where I was just super low in life, and I felt him just kinda being like, I got you, dude. I'm going to take care of you. I know it stinks right now, but stick with me. I'm going to get you through it, and we're going to have better things on the other side. And even when there wasn't really any reason to have any, optimism, and there's even times like even this morning, I always pray on the way to work and or wherever I'm going in the morning, and I just kind of felt this peace that he's like, I got you today. It's going to be a good day, and we're going to work through some things. So I think now I'm feeling more of those moments as I, talk more and try to give him more of what's on my heart. And I think one of the struggles I have is I'm such and we've talked about this, I'm such like an internally process type person where I want to do everything on my own internally by myself. And I think there's a lot of time where God is like, dude, why are you doing all this? Why don't you come to me and let me take care of this or let me work you through? And I'm learning and I'm getting better at it, but it never fails when I feel like I truly just give it to him, that's when I feel that a real peace and I feel like he's like, I got it. I got it.
Yeah, because I feel like you think you're doing the right thing, you're like, "Oh, I got it, like, I know the path," but, like, I'm sure his vision of, like, what the path is vastly different than what you're doing, so then it's like you surrender to him, you're like, "Oh, man, what am I doing this whole time?"
Yeah. Well, his plan is always better than ours for sure. but I think it's, sometimes we just, and it can be and it can be from a good place, but we're trying so hard to do whatever the what we're doing, the situation, right? And, I heard something the other day, and I really like it. It was, it was actually, I think I got it. Sometimes I'll type, like, Bible verses into ChatGPT, and I'll ask it to create kind of like, some reflection time to it. And, one of the things, it was I can't remember the verse. It said it was like, "God, help me to not rush, clarity and not rush resolution." And that really stuck with me because I was thinking a lot of times, like, I wanna know what's on the end of this thing, or I wanna know what's on the end of that thing, or what's the end game of this, whatever, and I just wanna rush through it, and I wanna know all the plans, and I wanna know all the answers, and sometimes I feel like, or at least myself, like, I'm trying to do all the work here, and I'm trying to figure all this out on my own, and he's like, "I got it. I know exactly what needs to be done and what has to happen, but you have to come to me and talk to me about it. I'm not gonna force it on you, but you need to come to me." And so I think that's one thing I'm really trying to not rush clarity on situations and not rush resolution. And one thing I heard too, someone said one time, they said, Jesus never hurried and he
Mm,
never worried and he never looked at the problem. He always looked at the solution.
mm.
And I love that, and so that's one thing I pray a lot. I was like, "God, help me to not hurry. Help me to not worry about things. Help me to just put it on you and let you handle it and not focus on what has happened in the past or what the struggles that I have or the challenges, but rather look forward to what he has planned for me and how he's using the challenges to help me to grow and become, who he wants me to be so he can use me in whatever form or way."
I love that, and especially those 2, like, the hurry and worry, I'm like, that hits so hard for me too, I might need to start praying that one.
Yeah, I think that's why he shared that with me because he's like, "Stop hurrying, stop worrying about things, and, let my peace come over you, and we'll get you through it."
Yeah. For me, getting into it, like, I had never been religious growing up, like, never went to church. I think I went, like, once or twice with, like, one of my friends' families just on, like, Christmas Eve or whatever. So, like, no church experience, nothing. And so once I moved here to Florida, it was probably, like, a year in, my best friend, I think we're actually gonna have on the podcast here in a couple weeks, which will be fun, but he started going and he's like, "Oh, you should just come with me, like, check it out." I'm like, "Okay, sure." Because at that point, I was still very new, like, really I was all in on just building community, meeting new people, so I was like, "Okay, cool, like, I know a lot of people that go there, like, it'll be great, just, like, have a new experience, I'll check it out, can't hurt." So, I went to that first service, and basically, like, it's almost like I viewed it as, like, a podcast kinda, it's like, it's just they're just preaching on self-improvement, like, how to be a better human in general, these overall self-improvement lessons, and so I'm obviously very into that, so I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." I'm just learning a lot, just reinforcing lessons even if I already know them too. So I was like, "Okay, I'll keep going back, it doesn't hurt." And just the energy in the room, just I can't describe like, you just felt a different energy. I was like, "I really like that energy." Everyone is so kind. Everyone is so, like, just feeding off it, like, so supportive, so I'm like, "Okay," like, I enjoy the people there. There's obviously a lot of people, like, it'll be great for meeting people. I like the lessons that they're talking about, I'm like, "Can't hurt." So, I kinda just kept going back here and there, like, I don't think I was super consistent right off the bat, but it's like when it made sense, I would go and continue to show up, and then from there, just basically, like I said, I didn't have some big aha moment or, like, come to Jesus moment or, like, where he was speaking to me like I think some people do. For me, it was just slowly building over time, just like we talk about with fitness habits or anything else. It's like I was just showing up more consistently. Then I learned how to pray, and then I got a Bible and learned like the right way to read it, or just like step by step. And then this was over the course of the last year plus. Is just like very baby steps. I never forced it. 'Cause I think that's one thing that turns a lot of people off or definitely turned me off. It's like, I don't want people shoving it down my throat, like, I don't want to be told how to do it or, like, what I should be believing. It's like, I just wanna come to it on my own terms, and so it's like that's also what I liked about the environment is everyone was so supportive, like, people offered to, like, "Hey, like, can I get you a ride?" I'm like, "No, I'm like, I'm good, like, I wanna just, like, start where I'm at, like, I don't wanna force it," and everyone was very understanding and supportive of that, so I really enjoyed that, so that way I could come into it in my own way and not feel forced or, like, feel pressure that I have to be at a certain place in my journey or whatnot. Just kinda grew over time from that point.
Yeah, I think it's also very difficult. I think that's one thing that I get very frustrated about myself is is ideally, you want to represent God in everything you do. And so that's one thing I always pray, is that I pray that people see him through me. And then when I do things or say things that is not in his way, then it's almost like, sometimes it doesn't hit me at first, but I'm like, man, like what a opportunity I could have represented him well, and I blew it. Maybe that person's looking at me and thinking, oh, this guy's a Christian. Oh my gosh, I can't believe he's saying stuff like that, or I can't believe he's responding like that. I thought they were supposed to be joyful. And so I think that's one of the hardest things for myself, and because that's what it should be. When you go to church or anywhere, really, you're representing him, and it's not and he's always said too, our job is not to try to get people to become Christians. Our job is just to be more like Jesus, and God will take care of all that.
Oh, yeah.
And so just like you were saying, like, you come to church, or even if you don't have any kind of background, or you have no idea, or even if you're, skeptical at all, our job is not to try to talk you into becoming a Christian. Our job is just to show you what it's like to be a Christian, and
Mhm.
and let God work through us. And so
Yeah.
I'm glad that you had a really good experience too to begin with.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because yeah, I feel like if someone did try to, like, force on me, I may have just, like, pushed back and be like, "Nah, I'm good." Like, I'm not gonna I don't want anything to do with that. So I feel like it is a fine line there for sure. And I will say, I think the things that I realize help me grow the most, like, one is just the community. I don't think I would believe, or I would be where I'm at in my faith at all if it wasn't for the communities that I put myself in, especially here in Florida. There's like the faith and fitness community. Like there's so many like run clubs that are faith based, and like, train, like there's so many different groups and communities that I immersed myself in a bunch of Bible studies. And then I joined one of the groups, or multiple groups from my church. And so like that, like I'm telling you, like just skyrocketed my faith. Like that is what accelerated, because I think is what, going off of what you were saying, is like you just see people leaning up, you see their perspectives, they're just sharing the things that they struggle with, like what they've gone out, like they're not trying to force on you. It's like you're just being around people that are all going through the same thing and at different walks in their journey. Like so powerful. So like that's been like the biggest thing for me, and just surrounding myself with, like, building relationships, like, a lot of my close friends now are from church or from those groups, and it's like, you're just around those people that are so in the word and the faith and so connected to God, and, like, you can't help but pick up on that, and it just makes you wanna dive deeper into it. So I think those 2 things have been, like, by far the biggest, and then also just like we always talk about with things, is, like, consistency. I prayed every single day. Like, since I got my Bible, I've read it every single day. It's, like, so consistent. Even if it's not perfect, even if it's just, like, a few sentences or just, like, a quick prayer, even if you aren't present or don't feel connected, it's, like, showing up every single day and building that relationship. I think those are, like, the 3 main things that have, like, really skyrocketed and helped me get to, like, a much better place. Obviously, I'm still new to it. There's so much more, and I feel like it gets better and better as you go, as I'm sure you can contest too. But those have been the biggest things for me.
Yeah, I love that point a lot. So I want to talk about a couple of those things. So consistency, I think you're right, and that's a great comparison to your fitness journey. He wants it. He desires a relationship with us. And so he is not expecting like perfect prayers. He's not expecting you to do everything right. He just wants your heart. He wants you to come to him. It could be a simple, "Hey God, I'm loving today. It's awesome. Thank you." 5-second prayer to, 20 minutes of you just pouring out your heart. Like he wants that relationship, and he wants you to go to him in all things, whether things are amazing, whether things are very challenging, or just it's a regular day, there's nothing going on. He wants to be involved in everything. And so yeah, consistency, every day you just pray and talk to him. And there's no perfect way to pray. You just talk to him. Just talk to him as if you would your best friend sitting right next to you, or talk to him as if you're journaling about your day. Just tell him everything and anything you want, and be as honest as possible. And yeah, I think it's totally okay if you're frustrated with him. God, I don't know, why is this happening to me, or why am I not where I want to be? And talk to him, and then listen to him, and see what he has to respond. And of course, it may not be right away, when usually it's not. It's all in his timing. But and then I think the community aspect that you mentioned is huge. I think it can be very challenging. I'm not saying it can't be done, but I think it'd be very challenging to to be new, or be a new Christian, or at least, you're curious and you're trying to learn more about it. If you just went to church or watched it online by yourself, and just try to read the Bible by yourself, and didn't really, engage in anyone else, I think the community aspect is huge. And so getting involved with, your small groups, or other friends that are Christians, or just having those conversations with different people, and say, "Hey, what do you think about this?" Or, "I read this verse," or, and listening to podcasts, or, watching sermons online, things like that. And just having those conversations, I think definitely will help people grow more, and help you realize, like you said too, that we're all going through our struggles and challenges, and there's always someone that's going to say, "Hey, let me tell you something that I went through and what helped me to get through it as well."
Yeah, I'm leaning on that a lot, especially with some of the struggles I've been dealing with lately with it, which I can get into in a minute. It's like, yeah, like I hit up, one of the ladies from my group who's the leader, and she poured so much into me, like broke everything out, helped me immensely. Like that's happened so many times. So I do feel like that it is such a big key is getting community. I know you kind of mentioned some of the ways that faith shows up in your daily life now. It seems like peace is a big theme. Is there any other like themes or like main things that you notice on how it shows up day to day?
Well, yeah, I think peace is a good thing. I think, it's funny, I've talked about this too. Like usually I have pretty good peace about the really big things in life. And
Mhm.
I think that has to do with more of my faith, just knowing that, hey, he's going to take care of me and not say he's going to there's nothing going to be challenging or nothing's going to be hard, but I know that he's going to take care of it in the end and it's going to work out best. What I need to do a better job at relying on him is the little things that was kinda like what I was mentioning earlier is where I just kinda, like, skip over them and try to deal with all these little things on my own, and he's like, "Dude, I'll take care of the little things and the big things, man. Like, why are you struggling through life on these little stupid things that you get worried about when I can take care of it?" But, the other thing is I've always felt very loved by him. Whether I was around tons of friends and family who loved me or I was just, in a place where I felt very lonely, I always felt his love, and I always felt like he was with me, and I think that those 2 things, just the love and peace, I think that's a huge, I don't know, I guess it's a great spot for me in terms of being able to handle things better, and not that I still go through tough times, and I still handle things in ways that he's like, "Oh, wow, like, Lawrence is really struggling through something," but I'm able to rely on him and go to him, and, the other thing too is just the grace that he has for us, and knowing that, he forgives us and he has grace for all the mistakes that we make, knowing that none of us are perfect and that we're gonna make the mistakes. One story I love is, the prodigal son. And I don't know if you're familiar with that story where uh, there's uh, there's a guy who or he has 2 sons, and one of his sons knows that he has an inheritance coming, and he's like, "Dad, give me the inheritance now. I want it now." And so the father gives it to him, and he goes out and he just rips it and loses everything, and waste it on all the things that you know that you shouldn't be wasting money on. And he ends up at a place where he's like eating with the pigs. He's eating the slop and he's like at the lowest of the low and everything. And he doesn't want to go back and have to tell his dad, but he's almost at a point where like he has to. And he starts going back and he's trying to like go through this conversation in his head, like, what am I gonna say? Like, is my dad just gonna rip into me? Is he gonna completely reject me? And he's just, everything, all the things that we would think of, right? If we took our own dad's inheritance and tore it up and he gets out there and he sees someone in the distance and it's his dad. And his dad's just waiting for him. He's got his arms wide open. His son comes up and he gives him a big hug. And he's like, "I've been waiting for you." And he throws him a big party and everything. And it's that comparison to the way God treats us. And God's willing to take care of us and do everything we need for him, and he's not gonna force us to follow him, he's not gonna force us to, do everything that he asks us to do, but he's also always gonna be waiting for us. And so if we wanna go and make our lives very challenging and make our lives very difficult, then we're gonna have to suffer those consequences, but at the same time, we turn around, he's always gonna be, right next to us with his arms wide open, ready to take us back in. And I think that's just a powerful story that we're all making mistakes. And, there's shame involved and there's a lot of things that we go through. They're like, I'm embarrassed that I did this or did that, or this is not my proudest moments. But, you turn around and God's right there is like, I want to forgive you. I already died on the cross for you to accept all your sins. So you could have a relationship with me. So yeah, life's gonna be more difficult if you don't follow my word. But at the same time, I'm always going to be here with open arms to love you and treat you like I would anyone else.
Yeah. I think that unconditional love is something that really hit me, like something that it going through this journey has taught me just because leading up, like I've never obviously no one has ever experienced that type of unconditional love, but like I feel like I didn't really experience any type of love growing up. I was like I didn't have anyone like I didn't feel that from my parents or like any relationships. So it was just like very new and just that acceptance. I was like, holy shit, like that feels like I don't know, just like you can't describe it, especially with me not having that. That's also something I struggled with too, which I'll get into in a minute. But like, also it's just, like, I think biggest thing for me that I like how it shows up is just the peace. Like, the moments that I do pray, the moments that I am fully connected, it's just like you everything else melts away. It's like, just you can't even just like, you I don't know how else to articulate. It's just like this peace that you feel, like, that you cannot get anywhere else, that I have never felt anywhere else. So that was just, like, super cool and powerful, especially because I'm used to living in a constant state of just, like, stress and anxiety, just, like, crippling. So I guess now that I think about, like, kind of like the biggest, like, I guess, aha moment was just, like, the first time I really felt that, like, all of that stress and anxiety melting away and just, like, that peace and happiness. So, like, I've never felt anything like that before, so that was super powerful. And then even just gratitude too. I feel like I've always been like, I always have a gratitude practice. I've been doing it daily for years, but it's helped me to lean into it so much and just from a different perspective. And it's funny too, like, as I'm working on writing a lot and just, like, kinda recapping, like, my life story, like, I never like, I see the moments where God was showing up in big ways in my life, like, especially when I was, like, at my rock bottom and, like, going through everything that I did. Like, I didn't notice that until now. I'm like, there's no other explanation for, like, how I got to that conclusion or how I got here, how I worked through whatever situation aside from God. So, like, even, like, talking about it gives me goosebumps now because, like, I just, like, feel that gratitude. I'm like, "Man, he was with me this whole time when, like, I didn't even know he existed, when I felt nothing, when I was, like, off doing who knows what." So, it's just a lot of gratitude for that and just gratitude day to day for every little thing, every little blessing, because like, there's so many little blessings that are happening day to day.
There really are, and that's I think I am very guilty of overlooking all those little blessings because sometimes I'm focused on the one negative thing. If someone had that bird's eye view type of thing, or if this was a story and someone was reading, they'd be like, "Dude, look at all these amazing things that are happening to you right now, or that you're going through, or that you've experienced," and you're focusing on that one little negative thing, or you're focused on that one challenging aspect of life, and so that's one thing I'm definitely trying to get better at is having more gratitude, and it does change the way you think. It changes the way you respond to other people and other situations, and not to say you can't be struggling through something and being challenged, but also being able to look at all the amazing things that he does for you and all the blessings that you do have, and you're right. I think if you really sit back and think about all the things in life that happened that you're like, there's no way, like, all this would have connected the way like, if we were writing our own story, like, it has to be a God thing, because otherwise, like, totally out of the blue, you meet somebody or you're connected with somebody or something happens, you're like, that is a God thing right there. This is definitely part of his plan.
Yeah, I'd say even too with some of the things that faith has taught me, I think the biggest one is just like surrender. Surrendering all the stress, the anxiety, the rush, like all the things, just everything all the time. I feel like it's been so powerful because when you do is like that's when you experience that peace and like just trusting in his plan. Like we always talk about, it's like we think we have it all figured out. We want to do things our way. Like he already has it planned out. Like we just need to trust and surrender. Like we still need to do our part. Of course, we need to listen and obey and be obedient and all these things. But it's like ultimately just like surrender and trust. Trust his timing too. Like his timing looks very different, but it's always perfect. It's always right on time, but it just looks a little bit different than our timeline. So that's something that I've had to learn and just constantly remind myself of. And then as well with just like having less stress. That's something I'm still working on. That's probably like my biggest struggle is just like releasing that stress and like everything's gonna be okay. But like it really does help with just like surrendering and just knowing that he has it all covered. And then even just it's obviously, like I said, it's kind of like everything in the Bible, like, it's just like self-improve how to be a better human. And so I think that's helped teach me just new intentions for how I wanna show up day to day and everything, and just it gives me a new purpose for my life within everything else that I already do. It's kinda like you were mentioning, is like now my main goal is like God at the foundation, like over everything, and like that pours into everything. But it's also like my main intention is like I just want to honor God with everything I do. Like it can all be simplified into that. Like and then every other box, like with work and business and interactions, relations, like everything falls into that bucket. So it's been like that's been my purpose and my intention, my vision, and like it makes it just simplifies it and makes it so much easier and like really encompasses everything. So I think that's been like the biggest takeaways for me and the things that I've been implementing and like how it shows up in my life.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think there's two things that if you can love God with all your heart and just put all your faith and trust in Him, that's really all He's asking you to do. And then if you do that, then I think just naturally you're going to love and other people and you're going to be kind and you're gonna have grace and forgiveness towards other people, and just like that, from there, it all releases just a wave of this kindness and love to every people, and people feel that and see that. But I also think it's way easier said than done. And I think, like what you said, you just gotta surrender. And in my head, I'm like, "Yes, that's 100% true." But then I'm also like, "Yes, that's also super difficult to do."
Yes.
And especially if a lot of our audience are just really high performing professionals, right? And so they're so used to having everything under their control and their command, and they work so hard and they're able to work so hard, and their output results in so much success. And there's sometimes just in life that you can do everything within your power, and you just cannot make the result that you really want. And that can be very frustrating. And that's, really where God's like, okay, I'm trying to show you that you cannot do this under your own power. Let me take care of it, and it's gonna be where you need it to be. It may not be what you want, but it's gonna be where I need it to be. So, yeah, so I 100% agree, but I also think that's a very, very difficult and challenging place to be.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you've struggled with on your journey or either now or in the past when it comes to faith?
I think that, one of the things, just kinda like what we talked about, is, like, trying to be in control of everything and not releasing it to him, and getting so frustrated when, because I say God's the greatest storyteller of all time. You read the Bible, it's an amazing story. And I think I have a very good creative mind, imaginative mind of my own. And I'll create these stories of how I think life should be, or how the things should go on in my life, or the things that I should be or do. And I work so hard to do that without it. And then when things don't work out the way I want, or they don't, go along as my story as I created, then I'm like, gosh, like, I've gotta give it to him, but this is very challenging because, like I said, there's so much that I want to do on my own and want to be in control and command with, and wanna be able to force those results. And a lot of times he's just like, "It's not gonna work. You can do it, say whatever you want. It's not gonna to go through without my plan." And the other thing too, and this is something that I don't admit often, I don't think about, but and I think a lot of us do this, but, you know, and again, it can come from a good place. We kinda create these idols. I kinda mentioned that in the beginning. And so even, as awesome as it is to go through your fitness journey, and want to be as healthy as possible, and it can be all from all the best places, times that I prioritize that over God. That's just an example. There's other idols that I have as well, but I'll prioritize that over God. And even if it's coming from a good place, I'm not like thinking about it, "Oh, like, God, you're second." I'm like, you ask me like, "Oh, yeah, God's 100% first." But then sometimes you're like, "Well, is he?" Because your actions are showing that he's not quite first. You make sure you get that workout in, but did you talk to God this
Yeah.
morning? Type of thing. So I think that's one thing that I'm trying to be more aware of my own idols that I'm kinda creating, and not prioritizing them over God.
So good. Yeah, like, we all have something that we idolize. Like, where is your time? Where is your energy? Where is your money? Like, where are all these things your actions? Like, where is all that pointing? And it is so easy to get caught up in things. Like, for me, like, it can be fitness, it can be work, especially, like, hitting certain numbers, stuff like that. It's like, I realize those become idols, and I'm like, "Okay, no, no, gotta remember what is actually that foundation." But, yeah, like, we all have that, and I feel like it's a constant work in progress of checking yourself and be like, "Alright, like, well, where's the priority list? What are things looking like now?"
Yeah, and I think he totally wants you to have all that stuff. If if you're a fitness fanatic like we are, he wants us to enjoy working out. He wants us to have these goals, and everything to do what we want to do, and that's totally fine. Or, if you want to make a lot of money, that's awesome. I don't think he cares whether you have a lot of money or not. But is it above prioritizing him? And if it is, then that's where he's like, all right, you're gonna have to pull it back some, because you need to be coming to me first, type of thing. And so, like you said, I think you worded it well. God is the foundation, and everything else can sprout from there, but he needs to be the top priority, and he needs to be the base of everything we do. And then all that other stuff is just going to be amplified in joy in general.
Yeah. For me, like, I really have been struggling a lot lately, like, the last few months in faith. But I think, there's been a few main struggles for me, which is just a normal part of the process. Like, I've still been doing all the things every day. But, like, one is just, like, I'm just feeling so disconnected, and my pattern usually, like, in any relationship is, like, when I feel that, like, I just immediately, like, go and distance myself more. Like,
Mm.
I pull back, I revert back, like, I retreat in, and so it's like, I noticed I was doing that with God. It's like, "Oh, no, like, whatever, like, I just need to do it on my own," or whatever it is, like, just retreating and pulling away. So it's like, that's something that I struggle with in, like, making sure that I am still leaning in, even in those moments where, like, I literally don't feel anything, I don't feel connected, I don't wanna do it, like, I just like, there's nothing there. Uh and then even too, like, I think a lot of that was stemming from, like, I've just been in this like, I've been so overextended, so overwhelmed still, like, I've been working on these things, but it's like I still don't have time. Like, today I was on calls literally 7 hours, like, haven't had a second to eat or, like, do anything or, like, connect with God. So it's like, I'm feeling so overwhelmed and then feeling like I need this intentional time every morning to pray. I need to go and, like, have all this time to read the Bible and, like, do all these things and, like, go to the groups and all that. I'm like, it was just adding so much more stress to my life. Even, I didn't have time to, like, go to church, like, because it's, like, 20 minutes there, 20 minutes back. It's, like, an hour and a half service. I'm like, I was just like, I wanna do the things, I wanna do it right, I wanna go all in, but it's like, it's just adding more stress, like, I can't do it, I'm so overwhelmed, so I think that was also causing me to, like, pull back and just, like, there's such as an internal battle in my head of, like, how do I do like, I wanna do it, but, like, I literally can't, like, like, it's making it worse. So, like, I've been able to give myself more grace and, like, pull back and find that balance and realize, like, I don't like, I'm just putting all these expectations, like, all this pressure, like, I need to do these things a certain way when in reality, it's like, right now in the season, like, I need to pull back, I need to watch church online. I need to, like, maybe shorten my times a little bit and, like, how much I'm reading, but I'm still doing it, or maybe I need to do my prayer and worship in the car, like, on the way to things, and that's okay, and, like, giving myself grace to be like, "Okay, like, it is okay for me to do that because I have these high standards and I have these expectations, like, I wanna do it all to my best of my ability," but, like, that was just setting me back further. So, like, that's something I've been battling and still am battling. And I'd say the last thing that I've struggled with is just, like, not feeling worthy. That's obviously been a theme for me most of my life, but especially just, like, hearing whatever you do, you get grace from God, like, he forgives you. He loves you no matter what, like, that full relentless love, like, I'm just like, again, I've never experienced that, so it's, like, hard for me to wrap my head around that. I was like, "How?" Like, "But I messed up," or, like, I'm not doing the things to the standard that I know I should. Like, "How can you still love me? Like, how can you still do all these things in my life?" So it's kind of funny, like, feeling those like, that narrative coming up again for me in this, and just trying to wrap my head around, like, how that can be possible. So I think that's kinda, like, funny, but also, like, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that too.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. Do you think that's because we're trying to compare him to other humans?
Probably.
Because, we that's most of the time when we screw up or we, say things, do things, whatever, other people don't respond the way God would.
Mhm.
They don't respond with grace or forgiveness, and so we try to compare him to other people, then you're like, "Yeah, there's no way," like, especially since you see everything that I do, you see all my thoughts, you know what I'm thinking, like, my gosh, like, anyone else did that, I'd be, like, kicked out to an island, no one would wanna be with me ever, but you still wanna be with me at all times, and so, yeah, I think it's hard. A lot of people really struggle with that, like, why and how could that be that you still even though you know everything, and I'm so imperfect, and that's the coolest thing, like, he's literally telling us, "I know you're not gonna be perfect, I'm not expecting that. All I want you to do is to come to me with everything."
Mhm.
And like the dad in that story, the father in that story, "I will be here, you know, with arms open to take you back in anytime you want."
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it too, is like, yeah, he knows and like he expects you to make those mistakes. It's like all there's a purpose in it. It's like the goal is like you growing from that, seeing what the true path is, getting whatever clarity or wisdom from it. It just yeah, it's so beautiful. Yeah, like I think that's at least a good starting overview. It's like obviously like I'm very new to it. It's never a perfect journey. Like these are I want to share some things I'm struggling with too, because I'm sure a lot of people can relate. And it's like the journey, like anything, like fitness, is never linear. It's like I'm sure you've gone through many periods where there's ups and downs. You feel connected, you feel don't, or you don't. So yeah, just I feel like it. Hopefully, people can relate to that or just get some sort of insight out of that and hearing our journeys with it.
Well, and before we get off here, I wanted to go back and comment on what you were talking about, where you were saying, like, sometimes you're just getting overwhelmed, and sometimes it's kind of hard to like feel. You said you felt disconnected, and I heard some of them from Aaron Brooks one time, and it it relates really well to a fitness journey too. There's a lot of times where in life we don't want to do something and we just want to kind of shut down, right? Like maybe like you're lonely, so what do you want to do? You want to like curl up with a blanket by yourself, watch a movie or something like that, and just kind of like basically get away from the world, like a little turtle shell. Or um, and so the idea is like to do the opposite. And so, like, when you're like, I'm just feel disconnected, like, I don't wanna do anything, I don't wanna talk to God or anything, like, that's when you say, "I need to do this the opposite, I need to go, like, all in, I need to go, like, talk to him and pray to him," and instead of just falling back and not talking to him, I need to just go to him and tell him all that. You can even just say that exact thing, "I'm feeling disconnected from you because of all these things," and like you said, it's just like the fitness journey. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing thing. You know, he doesn't expect you to have hour-long prayers every single morning. He knows that there's a lot going on. He knows that you get distracted by things. He knows that, you know, you're gonna be have a great mood some days and not a great mood other days. He just wants to share something with you. And so whether it's going to him and just saying, "God, like, I am just so stressed. I just all I wanna say right now is I need your help." Or to the 20-minute conversation with him. He just wants something. So I think, you know, if you are feeling disconnected, you know, and with him, it's just, hey, just do something with him. Like you said, watch the service online if you can't get to it, or open or listen to a podcast or listen to a Bible app or something that gets you in that mode. And there's probably more times than not, you're gonna end up that day or the next couple of days just feeling way more connected just because you did something.
Yeah, absolutely. Progress over perfection, like just something like we always preach in our fitness journey. So yeah, so true.
All right. Well, we really wanted to share this because faith has definitely been a meaningful part of our lives, and we definitely felt that it was important to talk about and just be open and honest without any filters, expectations. And again, you know, we're really just sharing, and we'd love to hear your comments, thoughts, feelings, anything on anything we talked about. So if this episode did resonate with you, then we'd love to hear that. And if it didn't, well, that's okay. We appreciate you listening, and maybe we put some thoughts in some people's minds, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So we appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for growing with us and thanks for letting us share this part of our story too. We'll catch you on the next one.